In this presentation, we'll talk about how to save, memorize, or customize reports. So in other words, we're going to customize reports, then we're going to save those reports or memorize those reports so that we can get back into them at a later time without having to recreate them. Let's zoom into it with Xero. Here we are in our Xero demo company dashboard. We're going to be opening up our reports once again that we will be adjusting, and we're going to do the thing that we've been waiting for at this point in time. Obviously, in the prior presentations, we've been making all these great reports, and you've probably been thinking, well, how do I save these reports? I've been making all these super cool reports. I don't know how to save them. Now we're going to be basically memorizing those reports so that we can go back into them. And actually, before we open the report, let's think about where we're going to put these, what's going to happen, what's going to be the end result. We're going to make reports, we're going to change reports, we're going to make a custom type of report. Then if you go to the accounting dropdown and you go to the reports section, we're going to have them show up not in the reports section, but in the custom reports. So then we're going to have our custom reports over here. There's nothing in there at this point in time. We're going to have these custom reports in there so that when we have these new reports that we make, we can then go back into them easily at a future point in time without having to reformat them. All right, how do we do that? We're going to be going to the accounting dropdown. Let's open up our balance sheet again. Opening up the trusty balance sheet. Once that opens up, I'm going to be right-clicking on the tab up top. We're going to duplicate that tab so we have the report we're working on to the left, information that we could then do other stuff with on the right. And then I like to make another balance sheet tab again so that I can kind of compare and contrast it in case I do anything funny to it. So I'm going to go and make another one. So now we've got the one that we're not going to change to the right, the one we are going to change in the middle, and then if we want to do anything other than do other stuff, it's on the left. Okay, so we're in the middle tab now. We've got our balance sheet. So let's do something customize worthy, and then we'll do the customization. So to do that, I wanted to go down to this page layout thing and do kind of like a vertical analysis because we haven't yet seen that. So we'll customize a vertical analysis. So if I was to select the column up top, let's make another column. And this one, let's change this time using the percentage because that's one I've been really wanting to do. So I'm going to check I want the December column, and then I want to select as a percentage of, and I want to pick the total assets. So I want a percentage of assets. So that's what I want, and then it's going to say percentage of assets. That looks good. And then I'm going to say, okay, let's just check that out, see what happens with it, and then we'll customize it. Or in other words, memorize it. All right, so here we have, this is kind of like a vertical analysis. So you'll note this is another way that is really common kind of thing to do. And I just want to point this out as we do the customization thing. Because if you compare to other type of industries, you may want to compare with a percentage because they may have a different dollar amount. For example, if you have a burger place and you're comparing to some other burger place like McDonald's, you can't compare the dollar amount. However, you might be able to compare something like the percentage of cash you have as compared to total assets, and that might give you something that actually could be useful for your business. So, for example, we might have this 11,773.13 divided by the total assets of 15,572.79, and that gives us about 75.6%, as you can see here. And the total assets, of course, equal liabilities and equity. So if I have the percentage of total assets, it's also the percentage of liabilities and equity. In other words, if I took the payable down here, I can think of it either way I want to think of it. I can think of it as the 2163.56 divided by the total liability and equity, which is the 15,572.79, which is going to be the 13.89 if I move the decimal 2 places over. Or, of course, I can think of it as 2163.56 divided by total assets, which is the same number as total liabilities and equity, which is the 15,572.79, and obviously that's going to be the same number because we did the same two numbers in the division problem. So there we have, that's going to be like a common vertical analysis. And note, on the balance sheet side, you might think of this as a stocks, if you had stocks and bonds and investing, and you're kind of thinking about how much do I have in stocks compared to bonds, compared to the total. That's going to be a similar kind of analysis you might have here. You might think of a pie chart, or you might be visualizing a pie chart and saying, well, 75% is in cash, and then receivables is 13%, and then property, plants, and equipment, and that gives like those triangles, those slices of the pie get to the 100% of the total assets, and so on. So there is that. And then we might want to adjust the name, and I might say like it's a vertical analysis vertical analysis. So there it is, vertical analysis balance sheet. All right. So now let's say we want to customize this. So if I want to customize this report, then we can go down below and I'm going to go to save as, and I want to save it as custom. And that's going to put them into that. If you're imagining the report columns, remember it had that custom section, custom tab. So I want to put it into the custom then. And then it names it balance sheet. I want to name it the full thing, this item. So I'm going to say I want to make that vertical analysis balance sheet. Now, what you do not want to do almost ever is make the customer report the default. Because if you do that, then every time you open the balance sheet, you're gonna get the vertical analysis balance sheet. So most of the time I probably don't want to do this. Most of the time I would say, hey, I'd like to keep the default as whatever the default for a normal balance sheet is per Xero. And then anytime I deviate from that or do anything custom from it, I'll put that into a custom report and I'll put that some other place. So that's what I would do unless you're very comfortable with whatever change that you make that's standard. So for example, you might want to take the decimals off or something like that and just make that the norm or whatnot. But if you do any big changes, then to me, I wouldn't mess with the normal one. You could probably take that default off if you wanted to, but just be aware of that. That could rewrite the original balance sheet, and that's not something I want to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and save. And then if we wanted to go and open this up again, I'm going to go back to the tab to the left then and see if we go down to the accounting up top and then go to the reports and see where they put this. And I'm going to hold down control and scroll up a bit, and it should be in the custom field. Hopefully it's there. When I click on it, I hope it's there. If we click on it, then there it is. So there it is. Now note also that for example, if you did want to make something like the standard balance sheet, let's say that you saying, I changed my balance sheet to the one I really want most of the time to show up. I still wouldn't change this one. I wouldn't try to change it as the default. What I would do is make another standard balance sheet that I make custom, unstar this one, right? And then I would go back over here, and if this is the one I want, then I can make that the starred one, right? And what that'll do is I can then just go into the accounting dropdown, and instead of the balance sheet that was showing up before here, now I have my vertical analysis balance sheet, and I can go right into the vertical analysis balance sheet. Now I'm going to change that back because I want to go back to the other report, but here it is. Here's the vertical analysis balance sheet. So that looks good. Now I'm going to go back and change that back. So if I go to the accounting, if I go to the reports and I say, okay, what report do I want to show in that drop down? I'm going to star the balance sheet report, go back to the custom, unstar the vertical analysis. Now let's do our standard routine. I'm going to go back to the tab to the right where I still have this vertical analysis sheet open. Let's go ahead and save this as we have been doing with all the reports we have been making. So I'm going to export it as a PDF file. So we're going to export it as a PDF file. And I'm going to put this into our folder. So we'll export it as a PDF file. Open up the trusty folder where I want to put it. I'm going to drag that into my folder where it needs to be. So we'll put it there. And then I'm going to go into it. And I'm going to call this one then. I'm going to rename it. This is going to be, hopefully, vertical analysis balance sheet. And then I can open that up and print it if I so choose. And then I'm also going to open up the balance sheet report. This is where I want the end results to go. So I'm going to put it in another tab here. My goal is to have another tab here that will have the new vertical analysis balance sheet report. So I'm going to close this. I don't need this one open anymore. And then I'm going to export this to Excel. So I'm going to export it to Excel. I'm going to open it up. I'm not going to save it because I don't really want it in this Excel form. I want it in the other Excel thing that we have. So there it is. So I need to enable the editing on it so I can edit it. And then I'm going to copy the whole thing by choosing either the triangle up top or Control A, right click and copy it. So there it is. Going to minimize this. Going to create a new tab over here. And I'm going to call it Vert Analysis Balance Sheet, right? Something like that. Hopefully that'll be enough I can recognize that. I can recognize that. And then again, you want to be in A1 and then right click and paste. I'm going to bring this back up to the 150 down here, 150%. So we have that. I usually check to fit that it's on a page by going to the page layout view That'll give us kind of our page breaks. If I go back over, then you can see the dotted line. Then I'm going to print all these 3 reports out on one PDF file. So I'm going to go to the File tab to do that, Print to do that. Then I'm going to go into my Qt PDF printer, which again, you'd have to have some kind of PDF printer. I don't really care if it's the Qt PDF printer, whatever. That's a free one, though, that I downloaded a long time ago. It's working well for me, so I would recommend it, although I'm not affiliated with them in any way. Then we can go down here and go to the Print Entire Worksheet, where we have the 3 worksheets down here. So there we have it. And then if we print that, then it'll print it as a PDF, which is nice. So if we open that up, then we have our balance sheet reports. I want to overwrite this balance sheet reports because I added to it. So I'm just going to overwrite that and I'm going to save that. Yes. And then if I was to give this stuff to somebody, again, there's 3 ways we can do it. I now have my vertical analysis. I'm going to put that into this folder. If I double click on this folder, now we have 3 reports. I can attach those 3 reports to an email, or I can open them up and print them. And even the printing is a lot easier this way too, because note that if I was to print these reports and I wanted to collate them in some way, then I'd have 3 reports, I'd have to print them and then collate them manually, or somehow do some fancy thing where I tell the printer to collate them as they're printing somehow, which I don't, and then you got to know how the printer works. Or you can save them to this one document, right? And if I have to print them out of this one document and they're already organized in this way, I can print them from here. Or you can actually, if you needed to print them, you can print them straight from Excel in the same way and have them all collated. In other words, not have to print them and then reorganize them. Notice that you'd have to fix the title here. I won't go into that again, so you might need some formatting. But hopefully you see that, you could have some advantages to that. And that printing thing, believe me, I was a teacher for a while. That collating thing is that's like a big deal. Or, I've given reports to other people that for financials as well. So if you have a lot of reports you need to print out, then sorting them is a big deal. You want some kind of way to do that. Or you can also attach that to a Word, or you can right click on this and you can zip it and compress it and then give this one report to somebody, and they can have the 3 reports there in this one zipped format. Or you can give them all 3 of those, and they can pick whichever one they think is the best one to use. But if you do that, you might overwhelm them, right? So you probably want to choose one of those 3 options.